to the Great Loop Radio podcast, brought to you by America's Great Loop Cruisers Association. We're dedicated to sharing Great Loop information and inspiration with those actively cruising, planning for, or dreaming about a Great Loop adventure. I'm Kim Russo. I'm the director of AGLCA. Today we're going to talk about the Erie Canal and its bicentennial celebration that is happening this season. We will also touch on the opening of the New York State canals because today was slated to be opening day. Portions will open today. Some are a little bit delayed, and we'll dive into that. Our guest today is Shane Mahar. He is the Director of Public Engagement on the canals with the New York Power Authority and the New York State Canal Corporation. So we'll bring Shane in just a moment. First, I do want to recognize and thank our Admiral sponsors who support AGLCA at the highest level. They are Edward Jones Financial Advisor and Certified Financial Planner Kathy All, Great Loop Yacht Sales, Passage Maker Trawler Fest, Skipper Bob Publications, and Waterway Guide Media. As always, we encourage our listeners and viewers to support these businesses that support the Great Loop. I want to now officially welcome Shane Mahar to the Great Loop Radio podcast. Shane, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Kim. This is a great opportunity. Really happy to be with you today.
Yeah, and we were thrilled to have you join us at the Spring Rendezvous this year, and thank you to the powers that be over there for letting you fly down and join us. It was a great keynote that you delivered for us, and we really appreciate it. We're going to talk about some of those things today, but to start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in supporting the New York canals and boaters.
Thanks, Kim. Shane Mahar, Director of Public Engagement here for the New York State Canal Corporation through the New York Power Authority. My team, the public engagement team, interacts with all of our stakeholders and public officials, governments, mayors, supervisors, interact with the local media. Essentially our team, we are the messengers. We are out there in the communities. We're out there interacting with the local mayors, the stakeholders, the villages, the marinas, all the folks who work along the waterway or rely on the waterway for their livelihood, and obviously the boaters, all of the folks who are actually navigating on today's New York State canals.
Yeah, so the New York State Canals Corporation, not something that many people are familiar with. So kind of tell us about that entity and its role in running the Erie Canal and the other New York State canals.
The New York State Canal Corporation is a state government entity for New York State. So we own and operate and manage and are the current stewards of the New York State Canal system. So that's 524 miles of navigable waterway. It's the iconic and legendary Erie Canal from Waterford to Lockport to the Tonawondas. It is the Champlain Canal. It is the Oswego Canal and the Cayuga-Seneca Canal. So 4 waterways all connected across upstate New York, very integral to the Great Loop experience for all of those boating the loop. And so we are in charge again of all of the infrastructure, all of the operations, all of the maintenance of the locks, the lift bridges, the dams, the infrastructure, all of the working parts that go into making this waterway a navigable waterway, we are responsible for on behalf of the state of New York.
Yeah, and thank you for the work you do there because you are right, it is an integral part of the Great Loop. The Great Loop, in fact, would not exist without the New York State canals. So we are very thankful for all the work the entire team does there to keep it open and safe for navigation. So this episode is dropping on May 16th. This was anticipated to be the system-wide opening day for the 2025 season. Most of our listeners probably know that has been delayed in most areas, but give us an update. Tell us where that stands as of now and when we can expect to get started on the Erie and the Champlain canals.
No, absolutely. So yes, we had big plans for Friday, May 16th. It would be the opening of the 201st consecutive season of navigation on New York's canals, the big bicentennial year for the iconic Erie Canal officially, as it opened on October 26th. 1825. However, Mother Nature in upstate New York had different plans for us. So over the last number of days, there was a significant amount of rain that fell in both central New York and eastern New York, really saturated much of upstate, and just several inches had fallen, which then obviously rolls into our waterways. So right now, conditions are not safe for navigation. The canalized portions of the Mohawk River, the Hudson River, the Oswego River, the Oswego Canal in central New York, north of Syracuse, all running at an elevated flow, at a very ferocious flow, lots of water moving very swiftly. We have not been able to finish our prep for navigation. So for those loopers who have gone through the Eastern Erie Canal in prior years, know that we regulate the Mohawk River through the installation of movable dams between locks 8 in Rotterdam and lock 15 up in Fort Plain. So these dams are what allow us to canalize and make navigable the Mohawk River in this area. Up into this past day or so, we were only able to set 4 of those 8 movable dams, and then we paused because of this high water event. So crews are going back out now as water has started to recede to install the remaining dams, but then also reset and or set any of the aids to navigation, the buoys that have not been installed yet. Some were installed but moved off station during the swift flows. And then debris clearing. We've had a tremendous amount of debris built up against some of the movable dams. So crews are now starting to go out again. Water is starting to recede, especially in that Mohawk Valley region of the Erie Canal. So we are working to open in phases as quickly as we can. Tied to that high water event or this current experience, a couple of conference calls today with some of our operations folks and our engineers. We have what seems to be a developing situation with infrastructure west of Lock 16, which is in St. Johnsville, so halfway between Amsterdam and Utica in the Mohawk Valley section. More details to come. It's kind of emerging, still trying to figure out what exactly is going on, but there's seems to be two things that are not correct in the moment as far as the infrastructure is concerned because of this high water event. So we've had engineers on site out there at one of our movable dams, one of the smaller ones that regulates the nav channel west of Lock 16, and then there's an embankment situation that we're trying to understand. So more to come on those. That may hinder through travel for a little bit. Again, we would advise and keep everybody posted through our Notice to Mariners alert system. And best, please sign up for those. If you haven't already, canals.ny.gov, please sign up to receive our Notice to Mariners because that's where you're going to learn the latest information. And if there is something really going on out there near Lock 16, we would communicate it through that NTM process. A little further west, the Oswego flowing ferociously. There is a lot of water moving through the Oswego, central New York region right now. The difference is, the Mohawk Valley, as folks know, as they lock through, there is a significant change in elevation. So water will rise very quickly after a storm event, but then fall very quickly. The Oswego, there's very little elevation change out there in central New York in that greater Syracuse region. So most of the Finger Lakes and a lot of the other watershed there all drain to the north through the Oswego River and the Oswego Canal. So as elevations or as the water rises out there, because of that lack of change in elevation, it takes a while for that level to come back down so that it's safe again to navigate. So two different watersheds connected by the Erie Canal, the Oswego Canal. A lot of water management, team of hydrologists, engineers. We have got folks boots on the ground every day at different water control structures, working their best to keep things safe and operable. So again, more to come. Even the Hudson River portion of the Champlain Canal, Hudson's flowing very quickly as well. Spilling out of the Great Sacandaga Lake Reservoir in the southern Adirondacks. So again, Friday, not as ideal as we wanted. We had a party planned. We had an event planned at Lock 2 in Waterford, the gateway to the Erie Canal. We felt it was appropriate to postpone those festivities for the moment, really let the water recede, let things get back to normal as far as navigation, let our crews get in there and start to prep and make sure everything is safe and operable. So we're pausing on the grand celebration, but we are able to open on the western end. So on Friday morning at 8 a.m. From lock E28A in Lyons out through locks 34, 35 in Lockport, that will be up and operating. I do know that a lot of our loopers have an air draft that's higher than 15 and a half feet. Like the song Low Bridge Everybody Down, if you are navigating that Western Erie Canal, there are low bridges. And you have to be mindful of that air draft if you are planning to go all the way west on your trip. I do know most loopers, because of that high air draft, decide to divert and go up the Oswego into Lake Ontario that way for safe passage.
Yeah. And that's great information. Please, certainly keep us posted. Those notice to mariners are a fabulous way to do that. You do a great job on those. We've also got a lot of loopers planning to go up through the Champlain Canal into Lake Champlain and on up into Canada that way. So the bottom line is this is part of looping. Everybody's going to have to be a
Right.
little bit patient.
Right.
I give a briefing often, an introduction to the loop that I give at boat shows and our events and other places. And I always tell them to plan for, I tell them when the canals open, but also tell them that we usually recommend planning for like no sooner than June 1st, because you can have these kinds of delays in opening if the maintenance isn't finished or if there's spring floods. And um, here we are. That
No,
has happened.
absolutely
So, just everyone kind of slow down. The Hudson River Valley is absolutely spectacular.
correct.
Um, it's a
Correct.
great
Yes.
place to hang out. Rent a car, go see the sights. There's so much to see and do,
Right.
particularly if you're not from that area. So,
Right.
um,
No, that's true, Kim. I mean, an old colleague, a really good friend of mine says canaling's a game of inches, and it
mhm.
is. An inch here or there truly makes a difference for us. And just the volume of rain that upstate New York has received this past just couple of days, significant and really has now affected our opening and what we want to do here. But again, phased opening, as conditions permit, as things become safe to navigate, we will absolutely open and advise through that Notice to Mariners program.
Yeah. Well, and you, of course, are as eager to open as anyone because it is the
Yes.
bicentennial
Yeah.
celebration this year. And that's mostly what we wanted to talk about today. But as part of that, you came to the spring rendezvous, you presented us some details. And one of the things that was really interesting are some of the stats on the various ways the canal is used. So share some of those with us if you can.
Oh, absolutely. So again, 524 miles of navigable water. There are four canals. We operate two primary reservoirs in the Mohawk Valley area, Delta Lake, Hinkley Reservoir, that still feed water to today's canal system. In total, 2,700 structures that we manage across the system. That doesn't include, the thousands of vessels and vehicles and the actual, what we've got on the waterway operating. In addition to the 57 locks and the 16 lift bridges, we also operate and own about 150 miles of the more than 424-mile Canalway Trail. So this is the Canalway Trail that runs parallel to both the Erie and the Champlain Canals, interconnected with the New York State's Empire State Trail now, and that is a recreational destination all to itself. An integral part and follows much of the old towpath of the original Erie and the original Champlain Canal from the early 1800s. So a variety of infrastructure that we manage, in addition to the the canalized river sections with the movable dams. We have earthen embankments. Most of those are out in that far western stretch by, Rochester and Points West. So a variety of things that we are managing on a daily basis to keep the locks functioning and the lift bridges functioning. Our season is a little bit shorter, than it historically was over the last couple of years. We've really been operating on this mid-May to mid-October timeframe, and that's really to support the critical maintenance that's done by our workforce during the winter months. We call them pump outs. We break down the canal system into a western and eastern region. And then within that, we break it down further into maintenance sections. So there are 8 maintenance sections across the canal system. This is where our day-to-day boots on the ground workforce report to every day. These are the men and women of New York Canals that are out there at the locks, at the lift bridges, working on the tugs, working on the barges, running the dredges, running the backhoes, running the excavators, et cetera, et cetera. So every section, every winter has at least one pump out where we go in and we isolate one of the locks with a cofferdam. We pump out as much water as we can. There's always a couple of inches still at the bottom, but we go in and we essentially fix all of the working parts of the lock during the winter months so that things are prepped and ready and operating for navigation season. And at this point, folks need to remember, we are managing the third generation of the Erie Canal, of New York State's canal. So we are in a moment of commemorating the bicentennial of the Erie Canal, the original land cut ditch, 4 feet wide. I'm hang on, I'm messing up my numbers here. I should know those stats better. But the original ditch that went across from Albany to Buffalo, that was that first generation. That was Clinton's ditch that was opened in 1825. It was so immediately popular. It was expanded by the state of New York to the enlarged Erie Canal that was built between the 1830s and the 1860s. And then as competition from railroad and then vehicles were starting to be constructed and built, New York State enlarged the canal a third time. So we are operating what was built between 1905 and 1918 as the New York State Barge Canal System. That is the waterway, that is the infrastructure that we are managing. So all of those locks, all of those lift bridges, all of those moments of infrastructure that you see along New York's canals were all built more than 100 years ago. Some of them refurbished, obviously, or rebuilt over time, but a lot of it still original working parts. And when something breaks, it is our skilled labor workforce. It is our skilled craftsmen that are operating and working in our machine shops, in our section offices, who are machining and manufacturing those nuts and bolts and those pieces to put the gears back together. We don't have the luxury, because of the age of the system, of going to the neighborhood hardware store and buying a part off a shelf.
Right.
We have to manufacture or machine in-house to keep the system operating. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes into all of this. And it truly is because of our skilled and very dedicated, and in a lot of ways, multi-generational workforce that work out along the canal today.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary, the undertaking to maintain the system, but particularly what happens during those winter months when we're not boating on the canals. So one of the slides that you showed us had the canal infrastructure by the numbers, and it had things, like how many lockages there are over the course of a season. So fill us in on a little bit of that, if you will.
Yeah, so absolutely. So again, 57 locks across the state. That's all 4 canals there. So a number of years we have not tracked unique vessels.
Mhm.
It is free for recreational vessels to navigate on the canal system. Commercial operators, commercial tugs, tour boats, etc., do pay a commercial fee. But local boaters or recreational boaters, it is free of charge. So we don't have a way to track individual or unique vessels, but we do track the locking. So every time a vessel enters a lock, it gets logged. Last year, 2024, we had about 75,000 lockings across the canal system. So yes, a boat could be counted multiple times depending on their route of travel, but still, that's a lot of lockings. 75,000 lockings for the 57 locks across the state. Every time we lock a boat, it's about 2 to 3 million gallons of water that is used. And when the barge canal was constructed, again, now more than 100 years ago, each of the locks are the same length and width. They standardized that for the commercial traffic that was navigating the canal system. What changes is obviously the lift. You could be at 33 feet in one spot, you could be at 40.5 feet at one spot, you could be at 6 feet at the next. It all depends on that change in elevation, as you cross upstate New York.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break and play a message from some of our sponsors. When we come back, I want to kind of dive in a little bit to the bicentennial celebration and what boaters and locals and people who are willing to travel for this celebration might expect. So we'll be back in a moment.
Travel in comfort with Seeker by Caframo. A trusted Canadian brand, Seeker offers high-quality fans and heaters designed for your boat wherever your adventures may take you. Their efficient, durable cooling fans provide powerful airflow with minimal energy use. Plus, the Pally engine compartment heater and store dry help to maintain your boat during the off-season. Whether you're cruising or storing, Seeker ensures comfort and reliable solutions you can trust. Set sail with confidence. Visit seeker.caframobrands.com. That's SEEKR.CAFRAMOBRANDS.com to explore the full range of products today.
St. Mary's Intracoastal Gateway Marina is located in the heart of historic downtown St. Mary's, Georgia. It's a laid-back vibe with southern charm, perfect for relaxation or an adventure. We're easily accessible from the ICW. The marina offers 30 and 50 amp electric service, water, and at-your-slip pump-out, all included in the daily rate of $270 per foot. There's a nearby boaters lounge with TV and Wi-Fi, 2 bathrooms with showers, and free laundry open 24 hours. You'll also find a secure mailroom, loaner bikes, and dock carts for your use. Check us out at visitstmarys.com/marina. We're back on the Great Loop Radio podcast. Today I'm chatting with Shane Mahar. He is the Director of Public Engagement for the New York State Canal Corporation, and he is filling us in on this season and also on the fact that this season is the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal. So we're going to jump into that in more detail. But I do just want to mention again the notices to mariners. These are a great way to stay informed. The number of these, I think, has increased substantially since Shane took those over, which is a testament to the great job that he is doing with keeping boaters informed. So please sign up for them if you do. You will get a lot of them, and some of them will be extremely important, such as opening information or closing information if there happens to be a situation. But it will keep you on top of everything that's going on. So could you tell us one more time, Shane, where to go to sign up for those notices to mariners?
It's absolutely, Kim. Canals.ny.gov. So that is our main website, canals.ny.gov. Right on the homepage there's a yellow banner across that says Notice to Mariners. There's a way to click through, sign up. It's not new technology, but it's new technology to us that we have actually just upgraded that system. We did it last season. And instead of just sending an email, it now will allow you to receive a push notification to your mobile device. So that for us is huge. Just a few short seasons ago, it was an old school email listserv type of system that you had to log in and you had to check your email to get it. With the upgrades that we've done on the technology side, you can now receive it via push notification to your mobile device. And even just working here and knowing that an NTM is going to be issued, because I've either helped craft it or I've been given a heads up by our operations team, it is great to just have it pop on my phone and it catches your attention real quick and you can log on and just scan it and understand the details and see what's going on out there. So highly recommend, again, signing up, register your email, register your cell phone, and start to receive this ASAP as you map your travels.
Yeah, for sure. If you're headed to any of the New York State canals, if you're doing the Erie, the Oswego, the Champlain, sign up for these. We do post the more important ones to our discussion forum, to social media. That's going to be delayed. You're waiting for us to receive them, for us to post them. You can get them directly. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to keep on top of what's happening. So we've kind of been mentioning that it's the Erie Canals Bicentennial. Tell us about the celebration that's planned for this season.
Absolutely. So 200, right? So this is the bicentennial of the legendary and iconic Erie Canal. Lots of activities planned for this year. Another great website is Erie Canalway. york.org/bicentennial. There are a lot of great events that are being posted there. So as boaters navigate up, as they come into New York's canals and they're looking for something to do, if they're going to hang out for a couple of days at one of the ports or one of the small villages, there's most likely a fun-filled activity, near you while you're traveling this year. So again, lots of great activities. We're doing a lot of it in partnership with the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor. There are more than 200 communities across today's canal system, and there are already more than 400 unique events scheduled for this navigation season in upstate New York. So a variety of things happening, all kinds of cool arts and cultural things and history talks and history tours and opportunities to get out and understand, where the canals intersect and how they still support the upstate economy here in New York. There is a really cool thing that I believe will be available for download on our website very soon, and that is the poster over my shoulder. We worked with a New York State-based artist to commission an official Erie Canal Bicentennial commemorative poster. So we have a limited run of those printed here at our Albany office, where our headquarters is for us, but we are looking to make that a downloadable file so anyone could get a hold of it, again, through the website. If you are a New York State resident and you are on the Great Loop or you're listening to this podcast, you could get a Erie Canal Bicentennial license plate through the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles. So that is available for sale. And in addition to, the couple of really cool and big things that are happening for the Bicentennial is the Albany Orchestra is planning a whole canal side concert series this coming July around the 4th of July holiday weekend. So a lot of concerts spread across the canal system here. They'll be announcing their schedule very soon, and I'm sure we'll be sharing it on our own social media channels. Then as you get into the later months, into September, we are co-hosting with Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, Visit Buffalo Niagara, the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, and obviously the state, the 2025 World Canals Conference, September 21st through 25th in downtown Buffalo, New York State's Queen City, that came to life because of the Erie Canal 200 years ago. So that is going to be a significant event for us, the co-hosting of this conference. It is the fourth time that New York State has hosted. Earlier in the 2000s, Rochester was the host city twice. It was in Syracuse in 2017 when we were starting our, commemorations for the bicentennial era. We really looked at the bicentennial era as 2017 to 2025 here because ground was first broke on the Erie Canal July 4th, 1817 in Rome, and then took that number of years to then open officially on October 26th, 1825. So as we are culminating now that this commemoration season, the World Canals Conference will be, this September in Buffalo. And then as that conference concludes, the Buffalo Maritime Center has recreated, they have built a replica of the Seneca Chief. It was the packet boat that Governor DeWitt Clinton sailed on when the canal first opened 200 years ago. They have a very interactive and educational program where they will be traveling the entire Erie Canal throughout the end of September and month of October as they navigate down to New York City. So at Pier 26th, on October 26th, on the west side of Manhattan in the Hudson River, there will be a pretty sizable celebration that afternoon as we welcome the Seneca Chief to the Port of New York, Pier 26. Really cool, interesting fact that we have learned through talking to a lot of our historians. The West Point Band, the military academy, the U.S. Army on the banks of the Hudson River here in the lower Hudson Valley. The West Point Band played for Governor DeWitt Clinton as he sailed down on the Seneca Chief for the very first time 200 years ago. A contingent of the West Point Band will join us on October 26th in New York City for the celebration. So a lot of really cool opportunities to come celebrate. Again, again, the Erie Canalway website, where the Bicentennial calendar of events is the best source. It is interactive. Events are being uploaded during, throughout the day, multiple times a day where there are some uploads. So that is really the best source for information if anybody wants to participate in any of these activities.
Yeah, it sounds like a great season to be on the canals, and I myself am looking forward to enjoying some of those festivities. And I will be at the World Canals Conference, so definitely looking forward to that.
Great. That's great. We
Um,
can't wait, Kim. That's going to be so much fun.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much so. So we've talked a little bit about, the extraordinary measures that the Canals Corporation and NYPA go through to keep the canal operational. Um, but there are still some challenges with the infrastructure being,
Right.
that is aging. Tell us about what some of those challenges are and how you're overcoming them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we are investing about $140 million a year into the canal system. So that's maintenance, operations, that's capital improvement. The last 2 years now, we've received an additional 50 million from the state of New York general fund, the budget that is passed by the New York State Legislature and authorized by the governor. So that's been a tremendous extra bonus in financial aid as we are looking to tackle a lot of the deferred maintenance along the canal system. So again, remember, we're managing infrastructure that is more than 100 years old. Some of it dates back, to the mid 1800s during the enlarged Erie Canal era. So the infrastructure is old. And in order to make sure that it's operational, that it's safe, that folks can navigate it, we do need to take that extra time and really that extra TLC to make sure that things are running smoothly. And yes, every once in a while, we have a seep, we have a piece of equipment break, we have something that malfunctions that despite the amount of care or attention that we put into it, some of it, it's older, it's brittle, it takes that extra, it needs us to take that extra level of care. And that's why, specifically the winter maintenance time is so critical for us. And again, this is upstate New York. This is snow. This is cold. This is wind. This is ice. Our crews are out there in these conditions, repairing and fixing all of those working components that are typically underwater during the navigation season that boaters don't see as they navigate through the lock. So we really appreciate all of the boaters, who navigate through and for their patience. Because yes, sometimes there's a hiccup, sometimes something malfunctions, sometimes it takes us a little bit to manufacture or machine that replacement part that we so desperately need. Um, some will remember we had, fingers crossed it doesn't happen this year, but we had two back-to-back seasons with a malfunction of the lift bridge that is just north of Oswego Canal, Lock 01 in Phoenix there, where we had to limit that operation and only vessels with a low air draft could get through while we worked to fix that bridge. And it was down for several days. I forget exactly. I don't remember if it was more than a week, maybe it was 2 weeks. But yes, at moments there can be significant delays, and it really comes down to the age of the infrastructure and giving our crews the appropriate amount of time to either manufacture a machine and just get those working parts back in a working order.
Yeah, and as I said, it's part of looping. Every year there seems to be something that causes an unanticipated delay. Whether it's on a canal, it has sometimes been in the Corps of Engineers locks while they're doing even planned maintenance. But it is part of looping. I always say if this was easy, it wouldn't be such an accomplishment when you actually finish it.
All
And
right.
you just have to deal with those delays that are unexpected and make the best of it. And it sounds like this would be a great season to make the best of it if you're there
They're
longer than expected because there's a lot
right.
going on.
Right,
Um,
absolutely. There are so many communities who are ready to roll out the red carpet. Again,
yeah,
more than 200 across the upstate canal system. I mean, just so many great spots to stop, hang out, enjoy. The mom and pop stores, the restaurants, the pubs. There's a tremendous amount of arts and culture. There is a lot. There truly is a lot in upstate New York to go and explore.
yeah, absolutely. So just as we look to wrap up, you've talked a little bit about the budget and it's a pretty hefty budget that it takes to keep this operational. You've talked about the challenges and, fabricating parts for something that's a few hundred years old.
Right.
I know a few years back there were some concerns about whether the canal would remain long term for through navigation. That seems to
Right.
have subsided. The governor seems to,
Correct.
and we thank her for that, but she seems to strongly support um,
Correct.
keeping the Erie Canal and the New York State canal system intact and safe and
Yes.
navigable for through navigation. So that's certainly appreciated. But we also know that a lot of money goes into it. It's been free for recreational boaters for several
Right.
years now. Can you speak at all to the canal's long-term viability under those circumstances?
No, absolutely. So Governor Hochul is our biggest champion. I mean,
Mhm.
she is an active boater on the canal system. I mean, her and her husband Bill actively boat when they can on their free time, and it's great. It's tremendous to have the governor of the state of New York out there navigating on the canal system. So we have our biggest champion in the governor's office, and we have a really dedicated team of leaders here at both the Power Authority and the Canal Corporation who are very much focused on keeping this canal safe and operable and navigable for through navigation. Kim, you're right. A couple of years ago, there was some rhetoric, there was some stuff going on, but all of that is now in the past. And there has been a tremendous focus on 2050. So we just worked with our Canal Recreation Way Commission to develop our 2050 plan. So this is a comprehensive plan looking at our next 25 years and the goals that we are setting, for ourselves and for our co-state agencies and for our stakeholders about really investing in the future of canals. And we're also focused on what we're now calling the third century of operation. So again, we're celebrating the bicentennial of the Erie Canal. We are really focused on the next 100 years. The canal system is still that vital link that is so important to the upstate New York economy, really the world's economy. The rhetoric, the language, that is taught in fourth grade classrooms across New York State, it's the opening of the Erie Canal made New York City the financial capital of the world. It made New York the port of choice to ship goods and people and ideas across upstate New York to the Great Lakes and vice versa. So New York, the Erie Canal, upstate New York, it's uniquely New York, this canal system. We are the only state, to my knowledge, in the nation that operates a canal system like this, that is this historic and still functioning. Again, we're going into 201 years of consecutive navigation. We may have a delay here or there, but it is 201 years of consecutive navigation. And we are going to be open in full in time this year as well, even though it'll be a little bit of a phased opening as we've already discussed. But again, so critical to just the upstate economy, the upstate community, so many thousands of jobs. There was a study done a number of years ago that more than $400 million is spent in direct tourism spending throughout the canal corridor. And we just know that it is a crucial and critical link for so many. And we're talking about, obviously recreational, we're talking about
Right.
recreational boaters, we're talking about loopers, but it still does move cargo. The canal system still moves cargo that it did 200 years ago. The last couple of years, we've had some specialty shipments move through. Ralph Wilson Park pedestrian bridge going out to Buffalo. Here's a pedestrian bridge built in Italy, shipped over the Atlantic, brought up the Hudson River to the Port of Queens, transferred in 4 pieces to canal barges, and then shipped all the way across the Erie Canal from Albany to Buffalo last summer. There is aggregate stone from quarries in the southern Adirondacks coming down by the bargeful down the Champlain Canal to the metro New York City, that lower Hudson Valley area for construction and resiliency projects. There are still unique shipments like that that are occurring on the commercial side of our operation as well. So it's It's very cool. It's very cool to still be here 200 years, still operating, and to have that support network that we do. Again, not only from the governor's office, but from our own power authority, the Canal Corporation. The executive leadership here is tremendous, and they are committed to ensuring this canal remains safe and viable for the future. Again, a lot of talk here in the office about the third century and where we're going to go these next 100 years.
Yeah, that's great. That is all great news, despite a delayed opening for the sections of the canal that loopers will be using this season. This is all great news for current and for our future loopers who may be listening to this. So, please know recreational boaters are grateful. We're so thankful for the efforts that your entire team puts in. We're thankful to Governor Hochul that, as you said, the rhetoric has subsided and there is a future pathway for the canal, and we love to hear it. So Shane Mahar with the New York Power Authority and the New York State Canal Corporation, thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome, Kim. So glad to be with everybody today, with you, and sharing all this information, and really welcoming all of the loopers as they navigate, hopefully this year, to join us for that 200. But even if it's next year, the years forward, please come up. Please come enjoy New York State's canals and come see us.
Yeah, we'll do it. Thanks, Shane, and thanks to everyone who's watched or listened today. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Great Loop Radio podcast. Until then, safe cruising.